Well, so here's the thing. I didn't know that about baseball. I figured, baseball, the stick, sports ball, whatever it is, everyone gets a bat. I guess someone would have brought a ball, but I didn't realize that. So we're sitting there, and I don't like the outdoors. So he wanted to go to a park. That wasn't really for me. We ended up at a parking lot. I figure it's close enough. Parking lot, garage, park, whatever. The bottom line is we show up. I guess no one brought the ball. I guess you're supposed to also have a glove. So we were just there, a couple baseball bats in a parking garage, and, I guess that wasn't the right way to play baseball. I don't know. So it didn't work out the way we wanted. Steve Weiner here from GetRubix.com, and today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the TPM attestation. We went high level. We talked about what health attestation is, what Intune's doing now to report on it, but after a conversation with MVP Rudy Ooms, he's been going pretty deep into this stuff. I figured let's peel it back a little more. Let's go a little deeper and kind of go into kind of the whole point, which is how to keep non-TPM attested devices out of Intune. Look, you learn something new every day, So what I'll recommend in the future is if you are going to play baseball, only bring one bat. Make sure someone brings a ball. You're going to want to have a glove. So it's my message of the day.
Get Rubix, solving for the modern workplace.
Okay, so yesterday we looked at a few different things, and the first thing we looked at was device attestation. But there are different types of attestation. So this is what I would say is general. This is overall device health attestation. So let's update this to be a little more specific now. The device health attestation is basically a collection of all these technologies we talked about, right? Is the TPM good? Is it valid? Your BIOS, right? Code integrity, all that stuff. When we move over to the actual MDM enrollment pieces here, and I didn't mention this, but that just said health. So we really should be looking at this as TPM attestation flow. So the best way we can look at this is earlier on. So at some point, basically, there was a shift, right? So you had, let's do this Back to the Future style. So at some point, we had what we'll call the Flashpoint. So what used to happen is when Intune would issue the Intune certificate to the device, Microsoft would store the cert using what they call the storage key, the software key storage provider. Right, and that's basically means it's stored in the OS somewhere. Sure, it could be protected with admin privileges, but that's not a very strong type of protection. And what essentially Rudy Ooms, is that because it was using the software key provider, that basically meant the Intune device certificate could be exported. Now that's not a great thing if we could just export out of the device, because that means we could technically then use it on a device that's not Entra ID joined, or at the time Azure AD joined and Intune managed. So, in the ever-evolving quest to do what they're now calling MDM hardening, which I think is a great term, right? Especially when you look at, the current zero trust state we're in, folks using like privilege access workstations, being able to have options to increase the hardening of the posture is super important. So what actually changed here is after that Flashpoint, right? Microsoft kind of changed the way that was deployed. Instead of being deployed to the software key provider, it was then deployed to the Microsoft platform crypto provider. The what? Well, what does that mean? Well, that basically means that's more than just software. That is the TPM protecting it, right? So when that cert comes down to the device, then being stored on the TPM. And if it's on the TPM, it cannot be exported. So at this point, there were two things that Microsoft had to do. One is they had to make sure they could figure out a way that only devices that can be TPM attested would enroll in Intune as a way to protect things, which there's several reasons why it wouldn't be able to if the TPM is no good, some invalid certs and not 2.0 or whatever. But we had to make sure that that was possible. And the other thing is, because this happened after a certain time point, we needed a way to go back and force a device to attempt the TPM attestation, meaning to take the cert from the software key provider and see if we can protect it with the TPM by moving it to the crypto provider. So let's go take a look at Intune and how that actually works. All right, so yesterday I showed you the attestation status preview, and we looked at various states of things, but what I wanted to show you were two things. The first thing I wanted to show you is the device itself, and what it looks like when it's not attested versus is. So when we go to a device, I'm going to open up command prompt. I'm going to do it as admin, just because. We're going to run cert util my store. Oh, I got that backwards. Store my. It's still early. When we look at these certs, we're looking for the Intune cert, which would be the Microsoft Device Management Device CA. So this is the cert in question here. Let's blow that up a little bit. Okay, so if you look here, we can see that's what we're looking for. The subject, that should be the device ID. But take a look at the provider. This is the Microsoft Software Key Storage provider. So this is, let's say, pre-Flashpoint, right? Where it's stored and basically protected by the software. If we look at another machine, and we open up the command prompt, let's blow that up a little bit here, and we're going to do the same thing. Cert util. We're going to actually hunt down that same certificate. So in this case, it is, here we go. So Microsoft Intune MDM device CA. So same thing, right? It's in the config manager enrollment container. It's the same name, but take a look at the storage provider. This is Microsoft Platform Crypto Provider. The private key is not exportable. So this means this device is TPM attested. So when we go back to Intune here, actually, let's get the name of that device real quick so we can, who am I? Oh, no, we want the host name. There we go, Z0T-C9PY. So when we go back to Intune, Z0T-C9PY, we see that it's been completed. So the TPM attestation on this device is good. But yesterday we had a device that also had a good TPM piece of hardware, but it wasn't attestated. Now it did actually complete here, but what we're able to do is which is the second thing Microsoft did here. We're essentially able to trigger that ourselves. So if I want to click on a device, I'll click on this one since it's not attestated. We hit attest, and just to show you what attest is doing when it makes the attempt, I'm going to go ahead and open the developer tools. So you can see I have the Graph X-Ray extension installed, which is great. I did a video on it. If you don't have this, you should. You can pick your language. I'm using PowerShell because that's what I know how to read. But it'll tell you what happens when you click an action. So when I click attest, so I can see now what's happening. We can make this bigger. They're using this new action, initiate mobile device management key recovery, right? And then it has the device ID attached to it. That's basically saying, hey, go attempt, because it was never attempted to, attest the TPM so that the cert is protected by it. When we're looking at the filter, so Windows TPM attestation, right? TPM is attested. While the filter worked, right? And we can hit edit and run the, what happened here? We're going to hit edit on the rules and run that preview again, because I should have two here, right? But so I have the two devices that are tested here. But, while you could use this to prevent certain access to resources and apps, ultimately what you want to do with this, at least as a first step, is if that equals false, meaning your TPM attested is false, we'll save that and we'll preview here that we have a lot of devices that don't fall into that, right? TPM attested, and you can see the attribute there. We can then, we're actually going to save that. We can then, in order to keep bad devices out, which is the whole point of MDM hardening, we can go to enrollment restrictions, device platform restrictions. All right, so we're going to create a restriction, and we'll call this block all Windows non-TPM attested devices, or whatever we want to call it. We're going to block, right? So you cannot enroll. And who cannot enroll? Well, we're going to go to assignments, and we're going to say everyone, edit filter, and we're going to include our TPM attestation equals false. So now what this does is if I'm enrolling a device and it cannot protect the certificate with the TPM, right, which is the crypto provider, I can't get in. Thanks for bearing with me on this one, right? Device attestation can be very confusing, right? There's device health attestation. There's attestation that, Autopilot relies on. Some of the things we touched on yesterday. And, I guess sometimes when we go super high level, we kind of gloss over and make these big leaps into different topics. But hopefully at least it helped you understand what we're talking about today, because this got a little deeper. Let me know if you have any questions, any thoughts. I'm going to put a link to Rudy's blog below because he goes super deep into this and, had definitely a hand in bringing this to fruition. So, yeah, that's all I got, and we'll be seeing you.